All right, it doesn't seem like the two sides of war are reaching a truce anytime soon. What, if anything, can China do to rein in their close ally? Seems unlikely given their cushy relationship.
China and Russia has a trust relations. It was built over many years. It was built on many issues. This trust relations with Russia gave us a unique position.
Yeah. And then, you know what happened? He denounced, he would not denounce the attack Russia on Ukraine. They've taken a back seat in diplomacy, and despite mounting evidence of war crimes, is it really a surprise that China remains on the sidelines? Republican Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson says China is playing a very dangerous game, and he joins me now. Senator, please explain that. I agree with you 100%, playing a dangerous game, but what say you?
Well, hello, Eric. You know, it's, again, a tragedy of historic proportions, the path that both Vladimir Putin chose and, quite honestly, the path that China has chosen. You know, the West very generously has offered an outstretched hand to both nations. Join the world economy, you know, abide by the rules, and they've refused to do so. In the case of China, we let them into the World Trading Organization, hoping that they could improve their economy for the betterment of their 1.4 billion citizens. And I think the hope was in growing prosperity in China, the population would demand more pluralism, greater democracy, greater freedom. But what we've seen is we've just gotten a more powerful authoritarian regime now threatening the region and wanting to become the world superpower. So rather than just be a friendly economic rival, China has become an unfriendly adversary. And of course, Russia has turned into a pariah state. We always knew that Vladimir Putin was a murderous thug. Now we know he is a certifiable war criminal. That's what you call people who indiscriminately bomb civilian populations, maternity hospitals, places where he knows that women and children are being sheltered from his indiscriminate bombing. That's what we call them. So the fact that China is not denouncing Russia, that they are buying his oil, that let's hope they don't provide him weaponry. But I do think they're playing a very dangerous game because China still relies on, for so much of its economic growth, and it needs economic growth to satisfy its population, it relies on world trading relationships. It relies on its exports. And people are going to be looking at China completely different as they are Russia now that Russia is a pariah state.
Yeah, and we are China's biggest customer in the world. Everything that they produce that we buy, that is leverage that we would have against China. For some reason, the Biden administration doesn't want to exert any leverage on China. Sir, I want to flip topics because we're going to go extensively in the next block into the Hunter Biden story, the laptop story that just exploded onto the world stage over the last couple of days, because the New York Times finally admitted that there was, in fact, a Hunter Biden laptop after denying, calling it Russian misinformation or disinformation for the better part of a year and a half now, that may have altered some people's voting for Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. What are your thoughts on the New York Times coming around?
First of all, has it really exploded into a big news story? You know, obviously conservative news outlets are carrying it. It should have exploded back when Senator Grassa and I issued our report of September 2020 when we laid out the vast web of foreign financial entanglements of Biden Inc. And shortly after, when Tony Bobulinski saw that $5 million should have gone into his venture with Hunter just went right to the Bidens, you know, he came forward, called Joe Biden compromised. It should have exploded at that point in time, but it didn't. No, it's quite honestly, my jaw dropped when I heard that the New York Times was actually admitting that the laptop was authentic. Didn't everybody already realize that? Haven't we known that for well over a year? So all the New York Times is doing is very quietly, kind of hiding in a paragraph of a larger story, finally admitting what the rest of the world already knew. And I guess that's news. It's certainly not news to me, but to me, it just indicates how thoroughly corrupt the mainstream legacy corporate media is, how they were completely in the tank of the radical left of the Democrat Party. They got Joe Biden, who campaigned from his basement, elected president. Now they're going to cover for him, but they also cover for themselves. Yes. And so this is the one time they'll admit that the laptop was actually authentic, even though they were trashing Chuck Grassley my report. They denied it. They certainly ran with the big story from the 50 or 51 intelligence officials, which show how corrupt they were when they immediately labeled that, you know, every sign of Russian disinformation when they had no evidence whatsoever. In fact, very, very early on, as soon as that laptop all the contents were reported, it was pretty obvious that had to be authentic. There's no way anybody could assemble something like that as part of Russian disinformation.
Senator Ron Johnson, very passionate on the topic, and we agree with you, sir. And I don't have time to talk about it, but I got to tell you, this whole Ukraine war, Russia war going on, what a convenient time to slip in and oops, we may have missed this story. And they didn't even apologize. I'm not even give them that. They just threw it out there that it might be an actual story after all, a year and a half. Too late. Senator Ron Johnson, thank you for your time.
Have a good day.